Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into a topic today that I think a lot of you will find really interesting and super relevant to your fitness journey. We're going to be looking at protein intake and how it all relates to aging and your athletic performance.
Yeah, and it's something that we get a lot of questions about, especially as people get a bit older and they're wondering, can I still build muscle? Do I need more protein than I used to?
Totally. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive. We've got a bunch of articles and studies here that we're going to break down for you. We'll look at stuff like how much protein you really need,
Mm.
especially if you're doing resistance training, how that all impacts your strength as you age. And
Muscle mass, overall health, the whole nine yards.
exactly. And the big question, can you actually make those strength gains even as you get older? I'm really hoping the answer is yes, because I'm not getting any younger.
Well, let's find out. One of the things that caught my eye right away was the study on untrained men over 55. They compared two groups. One ate the standard protein intake, the other one doubled it.
Okay, so like one group is just getting the bare minimum and the other is really fueling those workouts. What happened?
The results were wild. The high protein group basically doubled their strength and muscle gains compared to the standard intake. I mean, talk about a reason to make sure you're getting enough protein, especially if you're serious about your fitness.
Wow, double the games. That's impressive. I always knew protein was important, but I didn't realize it could have that much of an impact. Like, what's the science behind that?
So basically, when you up your protein intake, you're giving your body all the building blocks it needs to repair and grow that muscle tissue. So basically, faster recovery and more efficient muscle growth. That means you could potentially double your progress simply by adjusting your protein, something to think about if you're hitting a plateau, maybe.
That makes total sense. But I know some people might be thinking, hold on, what about eating too much protein? Is that a bad thing?
It's a good question. But the articles we looked at highlighted that the real problem isn't always the amount of protein we're eating, but it's the overall balance of our diet, right? A lot of us are eating way too many processed foods and not enough nutrient-rich whole foods. If you focus on that and make protein a key player, it can actually help you feel fuller, improve your body composition, all that good stuff.
So it's more about making protein a significant part of a healthy, balanced diet
Yeah.
rather than fearing it.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about something that I think a lot of people get confused about. The relationship between strength, muscle mass, and actually being athletic. A lot of people think, oh, if I lift weights, I'm going to get bulky and slow, which isn't necessarily true.
Yeah, I always wondered about that. Like, can you be super strong without sacrificing speed or agility?
Hmm.
Like, do you have to choose one or the other?
You don't have to choose. This is where the article, Let Us Talk About the Crossroads of Body Mass, Muscle Fibers, Strength, Speed, Agility, and Explosive Power and How It Is All Connected, really dives into that. It even mentions some pro coaches who limit their athletes' strength training because they're afraid they'll get too big and lose their speed.
Really? That's kind of surprising. It
Yeah.
seems counterintuitive to hold athletes back from strength training.
I know, right? But the key here is to understand that strength and muscle mass don't always go hand in hand. The article talks about something called relative strength, which is basically your strength in relation to your body weight.
So it's not just about how much weight you can lift, but it's how you can use your strength to move your own body, right?
Exactly. Think of a gymnast. They might not be bench pressing crazy amounts of weight, but they have incredible relative strength, allowing them to control their bodies with amazing precision. You can be super strong without being bulky, and that leads to explosiveness, agility, and speed.
That's a great point. It makes way more sense now. So how do you actually train for that kind of relative strength, like that balance of power and agility?
Well, you want to incorporate exercises that really focus on explosive movements. Think plyometrics, sprints, Olympic lifts, things that train your muscles to generate that force quickly, which is essential for athleticism.
Okay, so things like box jumps, burpees, kettlebell swings, those kind of moves that really get your heart rate up and use multiple muscle groups.
Exactly. It's about power and speed, not just slowly lifting heavy weights. Now, this brings us to another important point. How does age factor into all of this? Can we still build muscle and strength as we get older?
Okay, now this is the part I'm really interested in. I'm all about staying active as I age, but is it actually possible to keep making those strength gains even as you get older?
I have good news. It seems like it is. There's an article here. It's called The Question: How do you best strength train people above 60 years of age?
Hmm.
It looked at data from 151 studies, and get this, over 6,300 participants, all 60 and above.
Wow, that's a lot of research. So what's the verdict? Can you actually build muscle and strength in your 60s, 70s, and beyond?
It seems that way. The research says that yes, even as we age, we can still get stronger, build muscle, and improve our overall health and well-being through strength training.
That's awesome. So it's not all downhill after a certain age.
Absolutely not. You can absolutely stay strong and fit, but there are a few adjustments that might need to be made to your training approach.
That makes sense. So what are some key recommendations for training as we get a bit older?
Well, the research says to focus on lower volume, meaning fewer sets and reps, but with higher intensity.
So lifting heavier weights, but
Mhm.
doing fewer reps.
Exactly. It's all about quality over quantity. And it's super important to prioritize perfect form. Make sure you're resting enough between sets and listen to your body. Don't push it too hard.
Rest and recovery, always important, but probably even more so as we age, right?
100%. Now, the article also talked about the importance of those compound exercises again, those moves that engage multiple muscle groups and, like we said, mimic those movements we use in our daily life.
So squats, deadlifts, rows, all those are still on the table, even as we get older.
Yep. They help build strength, improve your functionality, even contribute to better balance and coordination, which can be super helpful as we age, right? Reduces the risk of falls, keeps you independent.
Makes total sense. I'm starting to think that strength training really is the fountain of youth.
I'd say so. And it's not just the research. We also saw anecdotal evidence from really experienced coaches. They've had incredible success with their older clients using this very approach.
That's really inspiring. It really shows that age is just a number when it comes to fitness. So we can build muscle and strength as we get older, and we can train for both power and agility. But how does all this actually apply to real life, you know? It's not all about lifting weights in the gym.
Definitely not. It's about how you move and function in the real world, right? The articles talked about skill-specific training.
Okay, skill-specific training, what does that mean?
It basically means training for the specific movements and skills that are important for you, in addition to your general strength and conditioning.
So it's not enough to just be strong.
Yeah.
You got to think about what you want to actually be able to do with that strength.
Right. Like, what are those movements, those skills that you want to improve? It could be anything from, sprinting, maybe you want to get into martial arts, or even something as simple as getting up from a chair effortlessly. The point is, you want to train for those specific movements.
So if I want to be a better runner, I should add sprints to my routine, even if I mainly focus on strength training.
Exactly. Or if you want to get better at getting up from a chair, practice that specific movement with proper form, of course, and gradually make it more challenging.
I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. It's not just about being strong. It's about applying that strength to what you actually want to do.
You got it. And by combining that general strength with skill-specific training, you can be well-rounded, capable, whatever your age.
Wow, this has been a lot of info. We covered protein, athleticism, the benefits of strength training as we age. It's a lot to digest. Why don't we all take a quick break, let all this sink in, and we'll be back in a flash to talk about how you can apply this to your own fitness goals.
Okay, we're back, and I gotta say, my mind is kind of blown by all this info about protein, strength, and how it all relates to aging. It's like a whole new way of thinking about fitness for me.
I know, right? It's all about shifting that perspective and hopefully having a few aha moments along the way. So let's recap a bit. What have we learned so far?
Yeah, hit me with the highlights.
All right, so first we talked about how going beyond those basic protein recommendations can make a big difference in those strength and muscle gains, especially if you're, training hard. It's all about fueling those workouts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we forget those standard recommendations are just that they're standard. It's like just enough to prevent a deficiency, not really maximize your potential. If you really want to see those results, you got to fuel up.
That's a great way to put it. Second, we debunked that myth that strength training always makes you bulky, right?
Mhm.
It's about relative strength, like we talked about. How effectively you can move your own body, that translates to athleticism.
That was a game changer for me. I always thought it was like you got to choose strength or agility, but it turns out you can have both.
Exactly. And then, of course, we tackled the age thing. And the good news is building muscle and strength as you age, totally possible. It's never too late.
I was so happy to hear that because I'm all about, aging gracefully, but I don't want to give up on those fitness goals. And it sounds like I don't have to.
Not at all. Like we said, with the right approach, that lower volume, higher intensity, focusing on recovery, you can keep making progress no matter how old you are.
This is all great information, but for someone listening right now, how can they actually use this? Like, how do we take all this knowledge and actually apply it to our own fitness?
That's the question, isn't it? It's all about taking action. What stands out to you? What are you excited to try?
For me, it's the protein thing. Like, I've always been pretty good about getting protein, but realizing it's even more important than I thought, especially on those workout days, that's a big one. I might need to bump it up a bit.
Definitely. And, there are so many ways to do that these days. Protein powders, all kinds of stuff. What about you? What really resonated?
Honestly, it was two things. Debunking that bulky myth, that was huge.
Mm.
And then the age thing. Knowing that it's not a barrier, it's really motivating. Like, what can I actually achieve, you know?
I love that. It's so empowering to know that, right? You can train for both strength and athleticism without that fear of, getting bulky. And yeah, knowing you can make progress as you age, that's got to be inspiring.
Totally. So where do we go from here? Like, what's one small change that someone can make today, to start seeing results?
It could be as simple as adding a little more protein to your meals or throwing in a few of those explosive movements to your workout. It's about taking that first step.
You know what? I'm going to make a point of tracking my protein intake more carefully, make sure I'm hitting that target, especially after those workouts. And I've been doing a lot of heavy lifting lately, but maybe I need to add some of those plyometrics and sprints, mix it up a bit.
Love it. Finding that balance, that's what it's all about. And don't forget, rest and recovery, just as important as the training itself.
Right. Got to listen to the body, give it time to recover.
Mm.
Speaking of recovery, what about those of us who might be dealing with, a few aches and pains as we get older? Can strength training help with that?
That's a great question, and it's one we're going to dive into right now. That connection between strength training, mobility, and managing pain, it's fascinating.
So we've covered how to build strength, even boost our athleticism as we age. But what about staying pain-free? I think that's a big concern for a lot of us, as we get older. Those aches and pains, they can really start to creep up.
Yeah, it's a common worry, but here's the thing. Strength training can actually be a really powerful tool for managing pain and improving your mobility.
Mm.
It's not just about the muscles themselves, but building that stronger, more resilient body overall.
That's interesting because I've always associated strength training with like aesthetics, performance,
Yeah.
not really pain relief. How does
Well,
that work?
remember when we talked about those compound exercises like squats, deadlifts, rows, all those movements that work multiple muscle groups at once?
Yeah, the ones that mimic those everyday movements.
Exactly. Well, those exercises, not only do they build strength, they also help improve your range of motion. So that can lead to, more flexibility, less stiffness, and a reduction in pain. It's like giving your joints a tune-up.
So it's like by strengthening the muscles around those joints, you're creating more support, more stability, which helps prevent pain in the long run.
Exactly. It's like building a strong foundation for your house, right? And it's not just the compound exercises either. Even more targeted strength training can help address those specific areas where you might have pain or weakness.
So like if I have lower back pain, strengthening my core could actually help with that.
Absolutely. A strong core is key for supporting that spine, which can make a huge difference in reducing lower back pain. It's about getting to the root of the problem, not just masking the symptoms.
I'm starting to see how it all connects. It's like being proactive about pain management instead of just reacting when things start to hurt.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your health, your well-being, and the best part is it's never too late to start.
That's so great to hear. It seems like no matter your age, your current fitness level, strength training can make a real difference.
I truly believe that. The key is to start slow, listen to your body, gradually increase that challenge as you get stronger. And of course, working with a qualified trainer, that can always be a huge help.
Well, this has been an awesome deep dive. We've learned so much about protein, strength training, and how we can really optimize our fitness as we age. And yeah, that connection between strength training and pain management, that was pretty eye-opening for me.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you about all this, exploring the science, busting some myths, hopefully giving everyone some ideas for their own fitness journey.
I'd say so. As we wrap things up here, I want to leave everyone with this, what one change you're going to make today to start seeing those results. More protein, those explosive movements, committing to that strength training routine, whatever it is, take that first step. Remember, knowledge is great, but it's action that creates real change.
Well said. Experiment, find what works for you, and most importantly, enjoy the process.
And keep those questions coming. We'll be back soon with another deep dive, exploring all things fitness and health. Until then, stay curious, stay active, keep striving for that best version of yourself.
See you next time.